Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the 25th edition of Fantasia. My name is Celia Pouze. I'm one of the curators, and I'm the director of the Docs from the Edge section. So thank you for being with us. Don't forget to check out our website for all the lineup. If you want to watch more documentaries, I definitely recommend You Can Kill Meme. About the genesis of mimetic magic. It really resonates with Dear Hacker. I mean, if you're watching this, it's probably because you watch Dear Hacker. So I think You Can Kill Meme can be a good movie for you to watch also. And it's world premiering on Sunday 15th at 7:30 p.m. Montreal time. If you miss out on that, there's a repeat screening 2 days later. And we also have a few other films that are happening, that are kind of like screen life films that happen on Zoom as well, that you may enjoy. And one of them is the 12-Day Tale of the Monster That Died in 8, which is a Japanese film. And it's also like Zoom interviews from very big Japanese filmmakers that either work on Godzilla and things like that. And so it's a fiction, and they included this how do you say this narrative of Godzilla into the COVID situation. It's really fun. I really recommend it, and it's on demand, so you can watch it throughout the entire festival. And the other one is We Are All Going to the World's Fair, which is a scheduled screening. I forgot the time, but you can check on our schedule. And it's a kind of like a millennial Blair Witch project, but a little bit more subtle, I would say. So definitely recommend that if you have loved Dear Hacker. And with me, I have filmmaker Alice Lenné. Hello, Alice.
Hello.
Thank you for being with me. It's really weird. I was anticipating a little bit our interview like that because I feel like I've seen you in my computer screen already on Zoom many times, and maybe like I'm like inside your movie in some way, you know, like I'm so there's some kind of like meta feeling happening. It's so maybe Alice, you can briefly introduce yourself and tell us like what's your background and where you come from.
Okay, so hello to everybody watching this right now, and thank you so much, Celia, for inviting me and asking me this question about the film. It's really a pleasure to talk about the film because I did it with my PhD thesis. So it's a film about my research, and it kind of asks about all the questions that I write about, but also gave me the opportunity to experience for myself what it means to be in front of screen and discussing with other faces on screen. My PhD was about this relationship that we are having right now, which is how does it feel to have another face on a screen, which seems to be looking at me, at myself, recognizing me. So even though in the vlog forms or ASMR video, what does it mean? What does it create to be in front of a face that seems to be looking at me? So that was my research. Great intuition for our today. So I just finished during the pandemic, and yeah, I did my defense and then finished Dear Hacker. That yes is prolongating my questions. So this is where I come from. It's supposed to, you know, hold all the philosophical questions that I asked in the thesis. So this is my background. I tried to do art and research within artsy research, this kind of thing.
So your PhD, was it like in philosophy, or it's what's the specific?
It's between discipline.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of media studies, which is not very popular in France. It doesn't really exist, but I definitely took a lot of inspiration within the media studies in the United States and also in Canada. Okay. in art because I followed artists and I tried to work with artists and I tried to offer myself some experimentation around this question. Dear Hacker is one of them. And philosophy, because I also come from philosophy, and it was a phenomenological question. So it means like, what do you see? What is available? What is available to be perceived in your environment? So here, what does it do to our relationship that I can see your face? So I'm looking at you here. Here is my face. So I did it on purpose so you can know when I'm looking at you and when I'm looking at myself, so you can check that. This is a kind of I don't know how to say it, but kind of a gift. Like I'm telling you where you are on my screen, and here I'm like checking myself and what is in front of my computer, what is behind it, and how can I share this with you. So this is all the question I'm passionate about. And everybody is passionate about it, so it's really nice.
Yeah. So because so you started before the pandemic even started, like, right? So yeah, it was
all the
start kind of the line.
All the conversation. Sorry.
Sorry.
No. This is a, I don't know how to say, croustillant, a fun fact. That all the conversations that you just saw in Dear Hacker are previous to the pandemic. So it's not a film about the COVID, and it could be about the pandemic, but it's especially about what it means to be together. And the screen is just a great tool to observe this, because it's right in front of us. It's taking our faces given in a close-up all the time. So it's really about questioning the relationship more than questioning the device itself. The device is kind of the in between the relation.
Yeah. So you shot everything before COVID?
Yeah, almost.
Almost? There a little bit. Some of them were
at the end, but I tried to. I continued during the pandemic. And the editing happened during the pandemic.
Okay.
And it was not the same feel because everybody wanted to talk about this, and then it took down the subject of the film, which is the desire, just the desire. But it influenced greatly the editing, because when we began the editing, so no pandemic. And we were thinking that it was like a generational film. I don't know how to say this, like a film dedicated to, a specific public. But then with the pandemic, the film is about everybody, like almost everybody. So it influenced, the way we were telling the story, because we had to cut back on a lot of explanation, which was great. We didn't have to explain, okay, this is how it works. Like everybody had the experience of how it works, so could actually identify more easily with the characters. So that was interesting.
That's really, really interesting. And that's something that I noticed also, because I was wondering, I was watching that, and obviously I was watching it during the pandemic. So I'm watching it and I'm noticing, it's funny because she doesn't talk about the pandemic, so then like so that question, like when did she do it? But also, is it a deliberate choice that she's not, talking about that? So it's really question that, but I definitely sense that, I thought even if she did it during the pandemic, it still would have resonated regardless, right? So that's very powerful in that sense. Yeah, absolutely. So, and how long did it take you? About like
maybe 1 year of discussing with artists and friends and IT specialists, and I tried to target people that I didn't know that well, like maybe that I met here and there sometimes, because the idea was to show, how it can be difficult to, get to know someone and see if the relationship can grow even in this weird context. So it took like maybe 1 year, so you can actually feel the relationship that are evolving and growing, and the tension of yeah, just a simple relationship. And then the editing took a long time, maybe 3-4 months. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, it shows, and I was going to ask you about the people that you're talking to, because of course you're not taking like the classical documentary approach with the name, and like it's not really the point. It's obviously a deliberate choice, but I still maybe want to know a little bit more. So you said that you're specifically targeted them, and it shows that some of them you don't really know, but I see the evolution in that for sure. So yeah, can you talk to them a little bit more? Talk about them a little bit more.
Yes, sure. The first person that you see in the film is actually one of my best friends, and it's maybe we forget about her through the film, but she's giving this sense of, you know, closeness. So it will contrast. And so this is Alina. This is the first person that I'm telling my story about, and she's like very compassionate and yes,
worried a little bit.
Yes. And what is actually documentary and funny is that the women in the film are closer to me. And there is also 2 other women, the one that are opening the webcam and collaborating with Alice, myself, and I'm closer to them. And the 2 main men in the film, I don't know very much. So this is also about the desire and the smell of seductiveness in the classical heterosexual relationship that is showcased. And I didn't do it on purpose. This is with the editor, Théophile Guémazas. Like, okay, this shows up, you know, so all right. And the 2, so I don't really know these two men. I met one like several years ago at the university, and we actually, with the film and with all our discussion, we became really close. We're still like the film took us on this relationship. And the other one, the one with the glasses, yes, I met him like once in a ZAD. I don't know how to translate this. Like in a how do you say ZAD in English?
I don't know what is that.
You know, like it's a zone à défendre. It's like a political sitting where you're trying to defend a piece of land from like industrial cooperation and stuff like that. So we met there, yeah, and we began to discuss, and yeah, I just called back. That's it. So there is different kind of relationship that are showcased, like the real close, the collaboration. This is with women, they don't show up that much, and then the risk taking of trying to connect with strangers.
Yeah. Were there more people that didn't make the final cut at all? Were there even more people than that?
Yeah. There were more characters, and we decided to get closer to the more there were tension, the more it was interesting. So this is really an editing process to pick the characters and slide within this heterosexual tension. It's very cinematic, very cinematic move. I don't know how to say it, but yes.
But it's funny because like I never noticed it the first couple of times that I saw it. I never really picked on that much, but then I rewatched it earlier today to kind of like refresh my memory before we did that, and like it's suddenly I saw it. I suddenly saw it. I was like, wait a second, I didn't see that before.
No, but it's really nice. Thank you for not seeing it, because we didn't want to speak about that. Like, this is not the subject of, this is not the object of the film. The film is about relationship, human to human, but the documentary where I'm caught and I can see it because I myself took within the dispositive, like,
yeah,
this is what is, it's almost like a, but I maybe it's with every film, it's like a therapy. You see yourself and you're like, you see yourself caught in your own.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like also what I appreciated, and because I've seen it several times now, I feel like it's a little bit like the Rorschach, test, because and you play a lot with the glitches and things like that, so at some point when you're with the girls and you're like trying to recognize and you say, oh, that's a fetus, or now that's a cat, and now that's a question mark, but I feel like there's a whole lot of that in the film itself, and so every time I watch it, there's some stuff that I see differently depending on the thing. So yeah, that's very cool. Have they seen the film, and what do they think about it? So, some of your
I didn't get much. That's an interesting question. Thank you. I didn't have much feedbacks from them. But I definitely show them the film. But it's so much, there is so much manipulation within the conversation that we did. It's easy for them to detach themselves also of what happened. But I totally respected what we have said and what happened. But the most interesting is when I watched the premiere with Robin, so the guy with the glasses, and at the end he just told me, like, you have to present me to the guy arguing about the flowers. Like, I completely disagree. This is I need to make my point to him. And he was like still thinking and really being passionate about the idea and not commentating the film that I made. It was
it's really funny because that Robin, specifically him, it's funny because he's very, very straightforward, and almost to a point where you could be offended by, he's just going to say it like that, but it's also very reassuring because you know that what he says is what it means, and there's no bullshit.
Yeah, but in a way, he's a really interesting character because so it was really intense. Like the conversation with Robin are like 2 to 3 hours long. So it's a really discussion. But what is interesting, and especially this is unfair because then you can study how a conversation is working, and it's unfair to watch it on this laboratory. But he has strong opinion, but he always kind of contradict himself. And this is a very interesting scheme in which he's thinking. He has like the classical technophobic point of view, but he is on the screen and agrees to the conversation and offer to make them again and again. He's always initiating the conversation. And he's saying that people are crazy to think that there is magic in repairing our devices, but still when he enters a room, everybody's repaired. He's like, he has always like a way of thinking that is very Cartesian. But in a way, there is always a contradiction in what he's telling in a more anecdotic way or in a more performative way because he shows up and is interested in the conversation. And it's really interesting to see how the arguments are working, and especially working at the university. This was like kind of an object I don't know how to say, like, this is why it's unfair, because in a conversation, maybe we go this way, but now we're able to showcase all the contradictions also that are within him. But he agreed with everything that he said in the end in the film. Yeah.
Yeah. So so there's something funny that I noticed that one of my colleagues told me, and I also heard from two other people who watch your film, is that they were saying, oh, there were moments, you know, when for example the image is frozen or there are like glitches and stuff like that. There are moments that I was like, oh, I felt like they needed to check their connection. It's like, oh, is it me, or they need to pause the movie and stuff like that. And so I was like, this is really a funny reaction, because in a way they are participating in the movie, like they're really questioning, is it real what I'm seeing? Is it the connection of the movie, or is it like, you know, so there's this meta aspect of it that I really enjoy. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I have people who watched it 2 times in a row to check if the glitches were on the film or on their computer, on their connection. Yeah, I feel it's I'm disappointed because I feel it's a film that has to be shown in a theater, but it's really interesting to have like your own Dear Hacker depending on your connection. This is quite funny, but we tried, like Théophile, the editor, he really tried to invent a language of phrasing the faces. Like we were thinking about the iconic, you know, in Catholic churches, like faith, you have like this kind of image of saints that are kind of total. It's kind of like the presence is within the image. So we were trying to reflect on this, like how when my image freeze, I'm kind of in between, and you can still praise my image, thinking like she's in there. So it's kind of it's working like a Catholic icon. I don't know how to.
Yeah, that's funny.
So we tried to think it like this, but it was also glue, because the conversations that you see are sometimes hours apart, sometimes months apart. So we're how do you say coudre?
Sewing.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we are sewing like different, even inside a sentence, we are sewing different moments. So the glitches act as a glue, and as the vocabulary, like maybe almost a breathing of the film, which are like the glue.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. For me, the very first time, I never, like the first time that it freezes, I questioned for a second, but I let it. I was patient. I was like, oh no. And then when you talk about like, okay, no, it's good. And then I after that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna trust everything else. You know, so. But it's funny, and for sure, like for me, I like the experience of discovering it on my computer. And I've seen there are a whole other bunch of movies. I was talking about, well, the other movies that we have in the festival, specifically the 12-Day Tale, but there are other like Screen Life movies, right? All those films that actually happen in computer. And I've always kind of questioned, you know, like some of them I saw in the movie theater, but at the same time, when I was seeing them at a movie theater, I was like, I wish I was seeing them in my computer. And then I see them in my computer, I was like, I wish I could see them on the movie.
Yeah. So. I guess it works. Yes, sure. And I wanted so much, because the aim of my PhD was to, you know, just consider the distance between us. Regardless of the devices that we're using. And a device can be like just, you know, waving, even if we're outside our screen. So I was trying to study the mediation between us, but there are always mediations. So the idea of the film was not to do a desktop film, but just to catch some of the mediation that are between us. And to that extent, it's not one computer, it's not your computer or my computer, it's the auto editing of Zoom. You know, like
Mm.
I don't see what's happening when I'm discussing with my friends and the person that I'm always on the screen. So I
Yeah.
just see them when I have the conversation with the different person on the film. I just see them. I don't see myself. And then the Zoom is doing like this editing. Maybe you tried it when you recording, depending of the recording mode that you're using. And then Zoom is doing like is giving the image to the person talking. So like there is this radical standpoint of Zoom giving like the image to the one giving a message. Like it's really focused on, yeah, we have to exchange information. So here is the face giving the information so you can identify the message sender, and so it's a very unique way of considering the conversation, and we try to roll on that. We try
Yeah.
to capitalize on that and show this this how do you say angoisse, this
This yeah, fright or
yeah
fear,
the fear of the machine of catching the message, and trying to know what's going on. So yeah, I didn't remember the question.
Yeah, no, me neither. But like, okay,
Yes.
so actually, it's a good point to start, because one of my question was that, I mean, I know for myself, like I have a very like spider web kind of way of thinking, and I was wondering, how did you not, and maybe you did, fell into a rabbit hole of, all those thoughts and discoveries that you made. How did you keep focused?
I was very lucky, very, very, very lucky to work with Théophile Guimazas, who's the editor, and he was asking me questions, like a lot of investigation, and I was talking about my PhD and what I want to defend within my research. So it was really easy to stay focused on what I want to say. With the several years of research that I just did. And this kept us from, going in different ways, because we wanted to catch this almost this metaphysical standpoint of having this a blind point between us, which is like the impossibility of catching the other. You'll never catch the other. It will always be mediation. It will always be negotiation and desire. So this was always the end point we were trying to go for. And so we had like this hacker, but the most interesting idea was like that it's an in between. So maybe a god, a star, a light, the other, all kind of infinite representation that can be caught, grasped.
Yeah. So how do you feel? Like I feel like a lot of the things that are happening, and actually it's You Can Kill Meme is focusing on a lot of that, is like this the way that people are completely losing touch with reality, because they are falling in that in between, I guess. How do you feel about this situation when you're hearing people getting into maybe like conspiracies and QAnons and all those like really strange either belief or indoctrination? They really fall into the crack, right? And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. The idea was to debunk really quickly the temptation to go and ask about this wonderful and fascinating fall within the screen, to go back to what I am actually feeling, because I am in fact in front of the screen, and I am in fact vibrating and being affected by your presence and the question you're actually asking me right now. So the idea was to go back and prevent ourselves to fall within the classical and scared standpoint on the screen and the dangers of the screen, to see how it can be a tool to observe the desire that are between us. So we're trying to go backwards, and the more we go backwards, maybe the closer. This is the hypothesis. Maybe we go closer to what's actually happening on the screen and how it can affect us. This is toward the end of the film. We have like this sequence about
the hypnosis.
Yeah, they have like their eyes closed and they're like trying to touch themselves, and this is the ultimate going back to the body. And I am trying to imagine that while I'm touching my face, you're doing the same thing, so I can feel almost like what you're feeling, because I'm thinking about you touching yourself. And this is how we're trying to shift the focus on. This is a body in all his sensorium in front of the screen. Even though on the screen we have like the idea, this frightened idea of exchanging messages. Even though we just have like the sound and the images and the video, we still have like, we don't stop smelling and touching and having back pain and this kind of stuff. So we were trying to go back and see how a relationship is made and how the screen can materialize by doing like this, this blind spot. And offer a laboratory to observe the relationship going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit more. I was going to ask you about the hypnosis session, actually. Well, what was the context? Were there people that you knew, or you invited them to do that?
The distant movements, it's actually art group, I don't know, a group of artists, and they're doing the distant movements. It's Annie Abrahams, Muriel Piquet, and Daniel Pinero, 3 artists, and they offered to do it a lot during the pandemic. So it's called Distant Movements. You have to check it out. It's a beautiful art move, and they were doing it previous to the pandemic as well. And it also works with another work which is kind of similar. It's the Distant Feelings, and it's almost the same, but without the movements. It's like at one point, 1 hour precise, we connect, we close our eyes, and we stand still for 15 minutes. And like we can do it with a lot of people, and it's really interesting because then you completely shift the relationship that you have with the device and with the presence of the other on the different lines, and you focus on all the different sounds, maybe birds and churches or whatever is in the distant environments of yourself, but also especially from all the people who are connected. And you feel like very close to the connection that is allowing you to feel the presence. You're like very close to, the device, but in a very sensual way. Like maybe you can feel behind your eyelids. Is this eyelids? Yes.
Yeah.
You know how the light and colors change? Maybe like if you have like you zoom on, the one person is taking the whole screen, and then if someone is doing a sound like this, it took the screen in front of you, so you can almost like guess that people are taking the audio and changing in front of you, even though you're not actually looking, but you can have like this sensual connection to your device, even through your eyelids. I feel it's beautiful. I like it.
It's really, really incredible. It's absolutely like, and again, like everything that you're saying now, and like I've never expected when I first stumbled across your film that it would take me to those thoughts and those places. Never. It's cool. That's really, really awesome. So let me see. I had a few other questions. Oh yeah. So I was wondering what was so you're researching, you're discovering, you're searching, and what was the most surprising thing that came out? If there's one thing that stood out and you're like, wow.
Well, several, but maybe which is the most spectacular is the experimentation that Alix is doing when she's opening her webcam. Because this is all true. Like she had like this broken webcam, and you know she had this intuition. So we are a collective, an art collective. We're 3, but we're 6 women working with these devices, and she just had this intuition of opening up the webcam and playing with the, how do you say, capteur? She's showing it in the film. But yeah, it's essentially water and some stabilo. I don't know. Yeah, and it's completely weird. Like we have like this these maps. I don't know how to say the microscope. This whole word showing up, and it's like really the essence of the machine, and it's right in the middle of the film, and in the essence of the machine you can't find anything else. It's really disappointing. Oh, okay, yes, it's beautiful, but I didn't find any presence. Like I'm trying so hard to go to the bottom of this, but I can't open it. I have to step back and be in the mediation. And this was like a really true gift that I was blown away by, because we didn't expect it at all. Maybe that's one, but maybe in a more personal way, like the long discussion where Robin was telling me that I don't exist because I am an image, were quite hard. It's hard to hear that you don't exist. It's because it's not, you don't exist for me, or you're dead to me. It's not you're dead to me. It's like, yeah, and even though I'm like, yay for the film, it's great. I'm like, oh, a little bit of a vertigo here. Like I'm like, am I? Yeah.
So if you were a hacker yourself, would you go, like, would you try and sneak into people? Would you be tempted to go tempted to go have a look into someone else if you had this power yourself?
Not really. I'm not into voyeuristic. I totally get it, but this was not my jam. What I'm most interested by is the cam girl, because you can the device is interesting because I'm managing your eyes on me. I'm the editor of the gaze that you can have on myself, and I have complete power over how I showcase my body and how I showcase the light and the angle. And this is quite interesting because it allows us to question the gaze within the relationship and how it's modified with the device. So yes, sure, you have like the voyeuristic way of doing it, like the cinema is always replicating it, and we had it since the beginning of watching people who don't know they're watched. But the Zoom device is more interesting to me because we are both managing the eyes of the other on ourselves. This is why watching at ourselves is so interesting, because I'm not watching at myself, I'm watching at you watching me. This is quite interesting as a human to have complete so this is more, what I'm more interesting is how you showing yourself. I'm more curious about connecting to you and see how you were presenting yourself, it tells me more about the relationship that we're trying to have, instead of just looking at you. The hacker in the film is I think interested in how Alice is showcasing herself, because she knows it and she wants it. She wants to be looked at. So it's kind of a weird take on the also female body and the gaze of the machine, that are not just the machine, they're ours. I decide to give you this or this, and this is my take, and this is what was interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I really, really wish that we were in a movie theater and that our audience could ask you directly question. Like it's super fascinating. I really love it. Like and thank you so much for this film. That honestly, like the reason why I think the very core of the reason why I think I booked it was that it gave me a lot of relief. Because we were going through this space where it's like, oh, is this it? Is this what it's going to be like for us? And so I feel like, I mean, I'm hoping that the audience are getting that kind of relief to like make sense and of this, and you're really doing this with it. So I'm like really. Is there any ways that actually our audience maybe can reach out to you if they have any questions on social networks?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I gave the internet my name, and I don't have any pseudonym, or if you type my name, I think you'll find my email address, telephone, and so please do. I want to be reachable. Yes.
Perfect. And do you have any more projects? Are you making more films? Actually, maybe.
I'm trying to. Yes, I'm working on the gymnastic performance.
Okay.
It's the adaptation of a tweet that came out early on about the fate of one of the athletes in the Olympic of 1994, where she did a vault and she break her ankle. So it's about two AI discussing the video and trying to figure out what it is. So yes, it's supposed to be a comedy. It's supposed to be like a late afternoon at work, and they're like it's almost like two E.T., two extraterrestrials trying to figure out what the hell humans are trying to do. Yes.
That sounds awesome. Cool, but thank you so much, Alice. Maybe you have one final words or like.
Thank you. I hope we can meet outside our screens. Yeah. Yes. And touch our shoulders.
Okay, thank you, Alice. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.